Good afternoon. I'll make this short and sweet, to the point. Of course, I had to go get my little briefcase here. With all my information in it that I'm going to be presenting at this very moment. See, the thing of it is, when you start this journey that I'm on, you are going to... Hey, Richard. You're going to be having briefcases, files, stuff like that you're going to be keeping all your paperwork in. Make you guys responsible. Mr. Shannon, how are you, brother? You guys are going to have to be responsible. That means being adults. Of course, we all, I'm an adult, I'm this, I'm that. Well, yeah, we are. We're all up there. But there's other procedures here that makes your adulthood a little more responsible, which means keeping files, keeping all this information lined out. So, Steve, it's nice to see you with me, brother. I hadn't seen you on one of my videos in a while. I'm going to start off here with a few little things. Of course, I'm going to show you this one. This is my pride and joy right now. Well, ammo's not going to save you when it comes right down to it. But I'm going to show you this document here. And this is where my... Hello. How are you, Miss Burris? But I'm going to show you this. This is what they call an authenticated document. Right? Hey, I need to stop doing that. This is an authenticated birth certificate from the Department of State in D.C. Of course, we all see that seal. Of course, down here in the bottom is very interesting. If you look up these codes, you'll see where this is going with this. And here's the funny thing about it. Okay, it says right here, if I quit shaking. The seal of Oklahoma, entitled to full faith and credit. You see that? Full faith and credit. Now I'm going to show you this other document here that's tied to this. Ooh, that's an authentication document from the state of Oklahoma. The gold seal. This paperwork will be authenticated with gold seals. And the back one is a certificate of live birth. Oh, wait a minute. Yes. Well, how can you get that done? This document, this right here. Of course, there's two in this one. I love this one. There's two of them. You can only, this one here, and then this one. Okay? This right here, this document has become a living, breathing document. I have taken control of the one thing that makes me who I am. That's called the authenticated birth certificate. But in order to understand this, you have to go back in time. Way back in time. Back to... To completely understand this, this goes back to Roman times under Caesar. History will not tell you everything it needs to be told. You have to do some digging on the real history. But we're going to fast forward here just a little bit. The first time the United States went bankrupt was in 1790. Well, how can that be? Well, the United States, the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776. Well, guess what? 1790, the United States went bankrupt. So what happened? The Rothschilds come in, the Rockefellers come in and set up the first bank in the United States called the Bank of America. $10 million was what was given to the United States. Mr. Jake Lords, how are you there, brother? Derek, good to see you guys on board here. $10 million was given to the United States through the Bank of America, or the Bank of the United States, I should say. It's one of those two. Had to repay, the United States had to pay back $20 million. That was the first time the United States went bankrupt. Second time was during the Civil War. With the Emancipation Proclamation, was supposed to free the slaves that were being held captive. A lot of people don't realize and know that the proclamation, or the Emancipation Proclamation, not only freed the blacks, but also enslaved every American at the same time. It was kind of contradicting there, ain't it? Free one type of people, but it's turned right around and enslave them again. That was what they call the free roam slave. Free range slave. More like a free range chicken. That's all we are, free range. We're not in chains. We're not being held captive. But we're slaves. We're made slaves in another way. 1910, the idea of the Federal Reserve popped up. 1913 was when the Federal Reserve actually come into play. This is where the book of Jekyll Island comes into play. Everybody knows that book, Jekyll Island. It's based upon this event right here. The 5 wealthiest families in the world got together and made up a scheme to enslave the American people yet again. Come up with the Federal Reserve, 1929, 1930 was when the United States went bankrupt. Stock market crashed. Everybody lost everything. 1933, the emergency, June 5th, 1933 was when the, March 29th, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, of 1933, the Emergency Banking Act was put into play. June 5th, 1933, our dear old President Roosevelt declared to the 73rd Congress that the United States was bankrupt. That's right, people. The United States went bankrupt for the 3rd time in history. So what they do, they come up with an idea. Social Security Administration, our government, come up with a good idea. Let's make the American people our debt slaves. So what they do, they started issuing these birth certificates. Birth. You are born out of water. You are a ship at sea. Not a person of the land. You are a ship. You have been captured. Birth certificate. That's why the birth certificate comes into play. Your parents signed you over to the government. You are now loot to the federal government. You are property of the federal government. All right there, Mr. Wesley. Glad you could join us. So not are you only loot, but property of the federal government. You are also a slave to the federal government. Your parents did not realize what they were doing. They were signing over their offspring. That's right. She was the informant. Doc with document. Your hospital is your dock. The ship comes into dock, delivers its cargo, and presents it to the government. There you go, Mr. Seahop. Hey, buddy, I'm glad to see you on here. Yep. Dead at sea. Lost at sea. For 7 years, you are lost at sea. Until that time, the government creates bonds in your likeness, in your fiction, in your all caps name. Turn around after 7 years, they pick up those bonds. They pick up everything. You are now considered to be a debt slave. As you get older, they control you through your Social Security number, which is a stock number. Go out here to the cattle, go to an auction barn. You see these cows with these tags in their ears. Your social security number is your tag to the world's largest stockyard. You're sitting there thinking, oh, this can't happen. This can't be. Well, I've just showed you evidence that it can be. All you got to do is do some digging. Do some research. I don't know how hard it has to be. But when you take and you authenticate your birth certificate, just like I showed you at the very beginning of this video, you turn this document, this manifest of cargo, into a living, breathing document. Something real. It becomes alive. You are claiming you are no longer dead at sea. Anybody got anything they want to add to this? Feel free to want to jump in on it. Just let me know. You are no longer dead at sea when you authenticate your birth certificate. You are staking claim on the land. This is your first step to becoming free from the system. You want to be free. Everybody says, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want all these things.
This is true freedom from the system. from this dimensional system.
Right. Everybody says, oh, I don't want to be part of this anymore. That'll be in another video. I'll be more than glad to do that on another video. I've got to do a little more research on that, but I will be more than glad to. There you go. To become holder in due course. Which means this thing has value to it. How can you... There you go. There you go. Proof of life. Means you are alive. You are coming back, and you're coming back from the dead and saying, here I am. I am alive. This is your first step to reclaiming your status. This is your first step from breaking free from the debt slave. Hey, no problem, guys. If anybody else wants to add in on this, please feel free to say yes, add me. I would love to have you on here with me. But these are your first steps. Now, you're sitting there, as some of you that are watching are asking, well, how do I get this done? Simple as 1, 2, 3. The state you were born in. All you got to do is drive to your Secretary of State that you live in.
Now,
Or actually,
doesn't work in all states.
Yeah, it doesn't always work in all
Take
states.
your application for your state, because Louisiana is based on Louisiana Purchase.
Right.
Completely different. Florida, Maryland, they're all different.
Yeah.
The applications we're aware of in
Yeah.
our four-state area.
Yeah. You can actually take to where you have to check in on it on the authentication procedures in the state you live in, or the state that you were born in. I know some of you guys are actually from different states from where you were actually born. You would have to check on the state. What you would do is you would call the Secretary of State, or get on their website from the state you were actually born in, and ask them about their, or research it on the apostille, or not the apostille, but the authentication of your birth certificate. Okay. Department of Vital Statistics. Hello, Miss Sherry. Hope you're having fun tonight. But you take and contact your Secretary of State, find out what's going on there. Then you can go to the Secretary of State or mail it off to them and have your birth certificate authenticated to a non-Hague country. Now make sure that you do some research on this, because of the information that one gentleman has given me, one gentleman told me that all these non-Hague countries, they're changing their efforts, and they are going from non-Hague to Hague. So they're closing these doors up on you. So do your research, due diligence on a non-Hague country. That's where you want to put it. You want to put it in a different jurisdiction. Once you get your long form birth certificate, authenticated on state level, you will send it to federal Secretary or Department of the State. There you go. Yep. From there, you will go to the Department of the State um, and have it authenticated on the federal level. Once it's done on the federal level, you can begin some of your other paperwork. It's very, very simple from there. We will have another video on that some other time on what you need to do after you get your stuff back from federal. But I just wanted to get some of you guys started on this. You can actually do some researching and digging on what needs to be done through the authentication. Just do some research, Google it. I'm not going to be able to give you everything on it. I mean, I'm just handing you just a little bit of information here just so you can get the process started. I want to see each and every one of you guys and ladies out there to become free from the government that has set you into as a slave. I want you guys to be free. I want you to have a long, prosperous life. I want you to be able to enjoy life a little better than what you are now. My next video will present some other information, but this is just the beginning of these videos. I'm not going to let anybody hold me back anymore. It's time for this stuff to be brought out to the masses. That's why I've done my Facebook cleanup. Got rid of some of the trolls. This information is actually going to be brought out pretty good. How does that affect previous authentication birth certificates becomes the question. From what I'm understanding, on that part, Mr. Mark, I have no clue. I think you may have been grandfathered in. I'm not really sure. I'm sure Derek has a little more information on that, or Jake, or somebody like that. I hadn't really, this information has just been brought to me over the weekend, or over the past week. I haven't really... Yeah, I am holding back just a little bit here. I've got to keep all this stuff in line. But I'm sure Derek can expound on that a little more. We didn't get into grave detail on that when we spoke about it. But I'm sure Derek will be giving some more information on that. I'm sure he'll do a video on that part as well here within the next couple of days when he's not so busy. Well, same here. This is just information that's been provided to me. Okay, Jake, that's what I was thinking too, but I wasn't going to put it out there just to, keep myself in the clear. But anyway, guys, that should get you started. If any of you guys that are watching, I know some of you guys, know exactly what I'm doing and the information that I've presented to you. Know what's going on. The ones that are watching that doesn't really have a clue of what I'm talking about, feel free to message me, and then we can go with it from there. But as always, guys, ladies and gentlemen, peace, God bless, have a wonderful night.